It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update, as 2 UFC champions are heading to AEW Dynamite, Tony Khan teases CM Punk's debut next week, and CM Punk himself has spoke about his potential debut in All Elite Wrestling. All that and more coming up in today's video, but first, as we noted in a video earlier today, Ring of Honor decided to move their Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view out of the state of Florida due to rising COVID-19 cases. The show is set to go down from the RP Funding Center in Lakeland, Florida on September 12th. The new location for the show has now been revealed, as Ring of Honor will be heading to the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on the same date, Sunday, September 12th. This will be the third show from the venue in the space of a month, with Glory by Honor Night 1 and 2 happening in the former ECW Arena on August 20th and 21st. The building has a ton of history, having been the home base of Extreme Championship Wrestling in the 90s. There was a recent report from Fightful that revealed a certain WWE tryout participant turned a lot of heads when he wasn't offered a deal by the company, who is now being revealed as Wheeler Yuta, who is now competing in AEW. One NXT talent pointed out that Yuta is 6 feet tall, 24 years old, could already work, and had recent television experience and checked almost all of the boxes NXT had been looking for recently. They spoke with several NXT talents who felt that Yuta was the perfect fit for what NXT has traditionally been looking for in the past, and him being turned down left many to believe that a major shift was coming. That shift did indeed come, with it being reported that WWE are looking to fill NXT with big guys under the age of 30, doing away with the philosophy NXT is known for, which is a more indie approach, with anyone of any size being given the chance to show what they can do. For those that missed it, earlier this month, Max Caster of the Acclaimed sparked outrage from a portion of the AEW fanbase during one of his pre-match raps on the 100th episode of AEW Dark. Caster made reference to the Olympian Simone Biles' mental health issues, as well as the 2006 Duke lacrosse sexual assault allegations, as well as some other things. This led to Caster being pulled from an indie show as well as this week's episode of AEW Dark, and he's very much in the doghouse with AEW president Tony Khan, who publicly criticized the rapping wrestler. We now have an update on the situation, as the Acclaimed have now been removed entirely from the AEW tag team rankings that were released today. Last week they were sat with a record of 14-3, second only to the Varsity Blondes, and in the updated rankings the duo are nowhere to be seen, with the Lucha Brothers instead moving into the top 5. There's no word on what exactly this means for the tag team, or if it is just temporary until AEW are happy to bring them back to television. Either way, the rap in question has seemingly pissed off the wrong people. Ahead of tonight's AEW Dynamite from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, AEW President Tony Khan joined Busted Open Radio for his weekly appearance on the show and discussed the American Top Team MMA gym leader Dan Lambert, who was set to appear on the show tonight. Khan revealed that Lambert's appearance has been moved to next week, as to give more time to build up the AEW Women's World Title match this Friday on the premiere episode of AEW Rampage, where Britt Baker defends her belt against Red Velvet. Tony revealed what to expect from Lambert next week in Houston and said, "Dan and his guys, the more I talk to them and look at this, I'm gonna have Dan and his guys come next week. And really, if they want to tear into us, they can tear into us. I got to address the Rampage premiere. We've got a lot of things to do, and I know Dan wants to antagonize wrestling and talk about how wrestling used to be better and real men, and I'd love to hear that." Lambert is expected to bring backup from his MMA gym, which houses some of the best MMA fighters in the world, including McGregor conqueror Dustin Poirier, BMF champion Jorge Masvidal, and double champion Amanda Nunes. Khan revealed that we should expect to see not just MMA fighters, but UFC champions next week in Houston, and said, He's going to bring big backup in the form of not just one UFC champion, but 2 great UFC champions. I'm very excited for it, and if he wants to say all that, I'm totally game for it, but not this week. I have to launch Rampage and have a lot to do. I told him, bring your guys to Houston next week, so that's what we're going to do. Dan's going to have to come to Houston. I'll give him the time to say what he wants to say, but then Rampage will have been established and we'll enter the Rampage era, and by then we'll be 2 days away from the first dance Dynamite, which I think is the most anticipated wrestling television show in years. Next week is shaping up to be very interesting, with 2 UFC champions appearing on Dynamite on the Wednesday and CM Punk expected on Friday for AEW Rampage. I'm not entirely sure if Khan means current or former UFC champions, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see what he's got planned. And quickly, just before we continue, make sure you scroll down and drop a like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any upcoming wrestling content as we head towards 20,000 subscribers. But now that you've done that, let's get on with the rest of the video. Elsewhere in the interview, Khan discussed AEW Rampage The First Dance at the United Center, which is where CM Punk is expected to debut, and he made a huge hint that suggests the rumors are indeed true. That's if we needed any more confirmation, with Tony saying, "Furthermore, we'll hear a little bit more about what's coming on Rampage. It's going to be a huge card, and tonight will establish more of what's coming on the premiere of Rampage. Of course, I think everyone knows what to expect on the second episode of Rampage, which is titled The First Dance, and I expect the anticipation will continue to build." Tony is clearly referencing CM Punk here and suggests that tonight's Dynamite will see some more teases, if not an announcement regarding the debut. For those that have missed every video that we've done in recent times, The First Dance refers to the recent Netflix documentary The Last Dance, which chronicled Michael Jordan's final season with the Chicago Bulls, who play in the United Center, where Rampage is being held next week. Several weeks ago now at this point, CM Punk posted the intro music to the Chicago Bulls on his Instagram, this before the announcement for the show was made. All of this, as well as several hints on AEW Dynamite, suggest that the debut is happening. And finally, CM Punk himself appeared on the Sunday Night's Main Event podcast to promote the upcoming premiere of the TV show Heels, which Punk is a part of. As we've mentioned, Punk is said to have signed with AEW with his debut set for next week, which was inevitably brought up in the interview. The host Jason Agnew asked if Punk has any plans on August 20th and mentioned Darby Allin's Best in the World promo on Dynamite, as well as Kenny Omega's Cookie Monster t-shirt. Punk responded to the question and said, "Let me look at my calendar. What did you say it was? The 20th? I think I might actually be doing a screening. This isn't confirmed yet, so I probably shouldn't blast this out everywhere, but we're talking about doing a screening of episode 3 of Heels at an AMC in Chicago, and that's one of the dates that's being proposed, so hope to see everybody there." And hey, listen, Best in the World, that could be anyone. That's Bryan Danielson, right? That's my assumption. I hear Best in the World, and I think Bryan. Punk was then asked if he'd ever talked to Tony Khan towards the beginning of AEW, with Punk revealing that the two had been in touch, which has been reported and spoken about on this channel in the past, and he revealed why he chose to stay away, well, until now, and said, "I talked to Tony. My perspective on this, and I said this to Tony to his face, is that I am a guy who had constantly heard, hey, I got a money guy, hey, I have TV. I heard that at least once or twice a year for 15 to 20 years of my wrestling career. I've gotten bounced checks from those gentlemen. You watched it happen, especially after ECW folded. It was everybody was restarting ECW. Everybody was going to use the ECW guys. There was a dude named John Collins who did time in prison for bouncing checks. It always seems like somebody is like, we're going to start up and we're going to compete with Vince. I always thought that came from a bad spot, because if you want to start a pro wrestling company, I think you should always just focus on yourself. So I more or less took like a wait and see approach. This seems to suggest that Punk wanted to see how everything played out for AEW, and as we've seen so far, it appears that they're not a flash in the pan and have made great strides in their short existence. If the rumors are to be believed, then it seems Khan has proved to Punk that AEW is here to stay, and it seems now that he's happy to jump on board to come along for the ride, and all I can say is, welcome aboard. And before you go, why not check out my video where I discuss 5 ways that AEW could book the debut of CM Punk.